a charger for my phone. So she used a $30 charger.
Do my homework.
Oh, it's just the USB.
And it didn't
My
fit
Spanish.
anything I had. It didn't fit my car, it didn't fit my
What
computer.
does it say?
I don't know.
So.
You just wear it, you don't read it.
$30.
Here we are. Good morning.
Anyway, our caucus, we have
We're all
some
in.
caucuses
So give
in
them
our
each
union.
one. Oh, are you
One
running
of
the show
them
today?
is called Latina
Change.
caucus, we
Brought
have
back
the
Oh, thank you
indigenous
very much.
caucus, we have.
And I would really
the
appreciate
African
those little
caucus.
cookies too.
And my
If
husband
there's
was
in there. Thank you so much. I've been trying to
Oh,
get
you
your
did.
Yes, I noticed you brought some.
The,
Yes, good, thank you.
Phone a
All
friend.
good.
Lavender caucus.
Actually, that's the neighbors that helped out.
Which is, you know, so this charger is in a lot case and.
Scrambled.
My protector's broken. Well, I don't like that it's broken, but I don't have another protector because I keep forgetting to order one, and so obviously I drop my phone, and if I take my protector off, then I'll drop it and I'll break my screen.
And much meat.
Well, and what was crazy about this is I put this protector on.
You were not that later.
2 days later.
You're looking good. You're looking slinky.
And that's how it broke. So I was.
I just gotta make sure I get my nap in today.
Every time.
Before our round 2 tonight. Anybody need a copy?
I think I have one.
Okay. You bet.
It's probably not you.
No, it's just what I sent out. It's-
Oh, I have.
Well, did you get, yes, you do. Great. It just has a list of the last strategic. Oh, yes, thank you.
I've been doing a good job.
Yes, you have.
I'm probably the culprit for you when you would never get.
Are we ready, Mary?
Nope.
Almost?
Almost. One more step.
We're doing a Zoom.
Mary is running this meeting, I can't believe it.
Check it
Oh,
out.
good, Mary's running it. Will you pass this down?
Wait,
Jason gave
Not
you,
yet.
did Jason give you the quick overview?
Tell me.
She read the one the other day and she did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
It says recording, is it? on?
Yeah, it's on. Oh,
Did you
but I
let
have,
Tracy in?
I have to check to
Oh,
see
he's here.
Oh,
He's
here.
he's still with the district. He's
Oh,
just not
okay.
here.
He'll be there.
participant.
Let me rephrase.
In meeting 1.
Okay, well, better get some.
It says there's one participant, but I, oh, oh, it's on that, so if we move around. I don't see any participants. Oh, here we go. Contacts.
No Tracy?
Nice hat.
I know, I like that.
Thank you.
Okay, we're there.
Hey,
There was nobody.
You'd be sitting on the beach in Miami Beach.
What's that?
You need to go on Miami Beach.
Nervous.
all right. The Sunset Empire Transportation District Board of Commissioners, I'm calling you to order for our strategic plan work session at 9:04. Or so. Do the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary,
Commissioner Bruce Smith,
I'm here.
Commissioner McDonald.
He's supposed to be here. He's supposed to be on Zoom.
Okay, check again. Commissioner Lewicki?
Here.
Commissioner Labria? Here. Commissioner Withers?
Here.
Commissioner Reed? Here. Commissioner Romero?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, any changes to the agenda? Nothing to change, really, I don't think.
Craig, you were gonna change the agenda? Addition to the agenda?
Oh, yeah, we were gonna look at the, information that me and Kelly got last Thursday, is it's gonna impact our, financial position moving forward.
Okay, do we wanna do that before we start number 6? The strategic, you wanna do that before we?
Sure.
Okay, So we'll make that number 6 and we'll make this strategic plan review number 7.
What was good news there today?
I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the agenda as modified.
Any other discussion? Well, roll call please, Mary.
Okay, Commissioner Boothman,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald, Commissioner Lewicki,
Yes.
Commissioner Alegria. Yes. Commissioner Withers,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Romero.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
All right. Is there any public comment? Nobody
Is
here?
there any public in the room?
Still, sorry, Mary, still nothing on Zoom.
I'm gonna go check.
Does that cord reach to your desk?
I don't know, I'm not-
Little thingy?
I don't feel comfortable.
You don't wanna mess up something, you have it coming.
Okay.
It says 1, and it says that is SEDD conference room us, so there's nothing, nobody
So
waiting.
nobody? Okay.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if Tracy thought it was starting at 10 and not 9.
Oh, do you want me to call him?
Would you
Mhm.
please?
Will do.
Just to make sure, because he did call me this morning, so.
Okay.
Okay, then I will turn it over to you two.
All right, well, we got a handout. Mary, do you have a handout?
A handout as in a handout or?
Yeah.
We put our hand out and it
Well,
worked.
it's kind of like a handout.
I just thought you were gonna print it, but
Oh.
I do have a copy of it. So I
Okay,
can print it real quick, so I'm very sorry.
That should be.
That's all right. I'll call Tracy.
Oh, I know.
There you go.
Maybe on the bus.
Then who's gonna do Zoom?
He's got a home Depot.
He's been off.
Me too. I did the name last night.
I'm calling Tracy.
Demo meeting.
Mary, I'm calling Tracy.
You wanna talk about it?
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay.
Make
Yeah, I
sure
decided, I won't try that.
that turned out that way, but
That's the stuff.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah. That's what my computer does now. I didn't switch it. It asked that, and then this is one of those questions. Is this accurate? As I wanted it, because that's how it came through online.
Yes.
Okay, so there's that one. And then cover. Correct? And this one.
Yeah, that is.
And
Yeah, that's good. I got it too. Okay, now, okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So the good news is, I guess I'll,
it went to voicemail.
So the good news is, ODOT contacted us a couple weeks ago and said, we have some good news. We're projecting you're gonna receive more money than what your plan maximum is allocated for. So, yeah, for STIF funds. So our plan maximum right now is $2.1 million. And what happens is when the qualified entity, Sunset Empire, receives $2.1 million, the funding stops from that point on. They still collect the funding, but they don't give it to you until the following year. In fact, we had 437,000 in funds that came to us in August because we had reached our planned max during the 21 through 23 biennium. So this time ODOT in their forethought is saying, why not make that available to the transits now? So we're gonna make a special rule and allow you to increase your plan max as long as you allocate the additional funds into current STIF projects. So what we've done through meetings with ODOT, there was some questions about whether or not ODOT was going to allow us to apply it to the loan or not, because of how complicated it is for ODOT to make those corrections. But after meetings with them, they've said it is an option, we can do that, which we should be able to do because it's basically our money we're getting from the state transportation fund. So what we're proposing and what Mary's gonna pass out is an allocation of the funds to the OTIB loan and also to add some more operations funds for next year.
What was the previous one you just said, that I listed to?
OTIP,
Oh,
that's the
OTIB.
loan.
Yeah,
So this is funds that we can use that we've already, that on current ongoing, programs, we can't use it to do.
can't do any, they
Can't
won't,
bring new routes on and stuff like that, is that, oh, that's not the state, we want to,
well, we can put the money into operations. You know, say we wanna pay for paratransit or we wanna pay for fixed route. But we can't create any new projects.
Oh.
So,
We can use it to continue doing what we're doing, so, add it to our operations fund to continue to assist with operations. It just allows us to be able to use the STIF funds in that area as opposed to using our local funds. So it lets us continue to kind of stockpile our local funds a little bit and use state money instead.
right,
I think putting at least some of it toward our loan is a good idea.
initially we thought, man, let's just throw it all at the loan. And then we're thinking, well, you know, maybe we could balance it out, you know, a little bit, and that's what we've done. When you see what Mary's printing off, we've kind of taken about half and put it on the loan, and we put about half into operations.
But operations, would that be, and even if not, it would free up some money. Some of the repairs and maintenance that needs to be done, could it go into that, or would it do something that we've already put toward operations and free up some money in our general fund to do maintenance?
I guess it could possibly.
It's probably a little bit more of the second option. I think we were looking at putting it more towards paratransit. So in our current STIF plan, so we have 5 projects, but within those projects, we have tasks. And so our operation project has 2 tasks. It has a fixed route task and it has a paratransit task. Our paratransit task is only set for this fiscal year, and our STIF funding is through the biennium. So we were looking at taking that money and putting it into that paratransit task so that we have that additional paratransit funds to go into the next fiscal year.
So
where we
locks
would
it
normally-
into the following end of the year as opposed to just.
Correct. And what's nice is the funds that, I mean, we're gonna use these funds. But what it does is by using STIF funds, we're freeing up local funds, which are gold for us. So the key point of this whole thing is just extending the max that we can receive from the STIF fund. We don't want it capped. We want to keep receiving those funds so that we have more local funds.
So what happened in the last biennium is when the state pays out STIF funds, they pay them out as they receive them until you reach your plan max. In the last biennium, we met our plan max in 6 quarters. So we had 2 quarters that we didn't receive STIF funding. And so we don't wanna run into that again. It's a budgeting not fun. So we wanna make sure that we can extend this out as much as possible. And as we're sitting right now, we have received about half of what we're currently set to receive. So if it continues in that aspect, we would meet our plan max sooner than the end of the biennium. So it was a good thing that ODOT had reached out and said there were districts that this affected, and we were one of the districts that it affected, so.
Obviously, we're in good stead, but they would have reached out to us, right, if we weren't.
Well, there were 8 transits of the state that fell into our category. Not necessarily transits, but districts that receive STIF funds. A couple of tribes fell into this. TriMet surprisingly fell. TriMet fell into
We'll
this.
take their money.
Right.
Give us their money.
Just
That would be nice.
give us one day of TriMet.
Yeah, give us
Right.
their money.
So, maybe I've asked this question before in terms of the ownership of the building and the payment of maintenance, repairs of it.
Mhm.
So, does ODOT own the building?
No, the district owns the building. We have to report on it though, and show that we're maintaining it to an acceptable level.
So if the district owns it, then that would be considered a, asset, right? And there's documentation that shows that the district owns it and not ODOT.
I can look for that.
Yeah, well,
I haven't seen anything like that.
previously, even, what was it, a board member, the building was used as collateral for the loan, for a loan.
Nope.
So that's why I'm asking, in case we're, and as you know, when we were in trouble, you know, the Lewis and Clark Bank said no. So I'm wondering if the ownership of this buildings is, not the district.
Yeah, we couldn't use the building as collateral.
So then,
I don't
We'll
know.
have to do more.
I think those loans were paid off.
I wonder if it wasn't, I don't know how it was purchased, if it was purchased as.
but I think if you, and I'm not too sure Clatsop County has records of ownership.
Oh, yeah, they have.
Yeah, they would have. We
So
can do
Mary,
more
do you have
research
any,
on it.
do you have any?
The loans that we had previously, that did include the building were paid off.
Oh, I know that, but what I'm asking is when Lewis and Clark Bank was approached, this time around, they said no. And I'm wondering if the ownership of the building is not the district's, but ODOT.
Not that,
So it'd be good to have
yeah,
some documentation. You don't want to look for that documentation
Yeah.
when you're under the gun.
The good news is I don't anticipate us reaching that level
I
of
understand.
ever again.
Okay, but if it were ODOT, then they should pay for the repairs.
Right.
and it just might have been because of our bank accounts that were in the bank. The balance that was in them might have been the part of the determination.
Well, because you have repairs coming now, it would be helpful to know who really owns the building. If ODOT does, then ODOT should pay for the repairs.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy call.
I hate
It
to
would be
push,
the
I
county.
hate to push on that on that right now.
Just good to know.
Yeah.
Mrs. Rebecca.
Okay, I just had a question as to, you know, what the next steps are for this, you know, just to kind of give us a little, sense of, you know, on the policy level, you know, what needs to be approved, et cetera.
Great question. They're not requiring that it goes before the Transportation Advisory Committee. Because this has such a short time frame, they're saying you need to go to your governing board, and your governing board has to approve it. And that's one of the stipulations as to why they're not allowing any new tasks, because then it would have to go before the Transportation Advisory Committee. This has a very short time frame. Tonight, you guys will have to vote on it and approve the allocation of funds or disapprove. And then from that point, I've already started to modify our STIF plan internally in ODOT's Optus system. I've already began that. So,
Thank you.
All right. Something for you, board members, to do this afternoon in our break.
Very good.
You said there was good news of no bad news. Just-
Oh, that's good news.
Oh, you said I got.
No bad news.
No bad news in that
No
one.
bad news.
You buried the lead there, brother.
It's all good.
All right, thank you, both of you guys. That's quick.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to our strategic plan review and work session.
Can I, Debbie, can I
yes.
say a couple words here?
Yes.
Just kind of how I, roll is that I always like to start as, I like to get started off on the right foot when we have a little venture like this. We haven't done, addressed strategic planning, for, since 2022. Things have certainly changed, as we look at the, the last plan. And, my hope today is that, we, take a fresh look. For me, I rely heavily on the expertise of the professionals in our field, our staff, leadership, and, because, you guys, and as you always do, fill us in on, what the needs are operationally. And, I would like us to have a good document to work from, for this next year. I have a couple questions. I can't remember offhand if this is an annual, if this is just an annual, or if it's a 2-year plan. But that's something we can find out in short order. And then also the ability to, modify it if we need to. I'd like to know what the, what our parameters are for doing that, because, it is kind of a working document, a live document, and maybe if we find that, a priority, maybe needs to be set back a little bit, or that we just, I don't know, just maybe notation about it. But I think it's really an important document. It's a guide for our future. And, so I'd like us to, be focused on, what's really important here today in these 2 hours that we have. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. All right, so where do you want to start?
I'll start by prefacing it. This is new to me. Basin Transit never did any strategic planning. I think this is good going forward, but just realize this is new for me. I think it's a good opportunity to come together, throw out ideas that we may have for the future of the service, where we want to take it, where we can improve, and how we can best serve the public. That's how I'm.
Yes.
And I won't slow it down.
No.
I've been around some strategic planning before, and the first sign of trouble is, instead of going back to the strategic plan, they wing it. And I think we should be at a point, we should establish in this plan that if we do run into an issue here, that we revert back to here and then make the adjustments, or say, see what we did wrong on the plan and then correct the plan, as opposed to just winging it. And I think we wing it, and, winging is exactly what it sounds like, winging it. So it should be a hard and fast plan that we can, that's changeable,
Right.
but also use it as a point of reference. If we need to make some changes, that we go to the strategic plan initially and make those changes there as well. So that we don't, we're not running around.
Update it periodically.
Exactly, because things are, we're gonna change either way.
Yeah, definitely.
Paul.
May I just read this few words from a website that talks about strategic planning. And it says a strategic planning meeting is an opportunity for you and your team to gather and discuss your business future and the steps needed to grow. A strategic planning meeting aims to assess the current position, set long-term goals, create a success roadmap, and bring diverse perspectives together. So kind of to your question.
Excellent, yes.
Says what we're here to do.
Yeah, I emphasis on the, the input that we get. Because, we're just about to, benefit from the community, survey. So hopefully we can, if we need to modify, it may come from that source. Excuse me, Guillermo. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I would just like to comment, I think this is a very positive step in the right direction because as some of you all know that throughout the United States, there are problems with the infrastructures for various reasons. And I think setting priorities is very essential for the long run and for survival. Glad you're doing that.
All right, so I guess we can review the list that we had in 2022.
One thing before we get started. Paul came to me, it's been a few months ago, with a kind of a new mission statement, and I kind of liked it a little bit better than the one that we've got. And I'm thinking this might be the time to talk about that, decide if we want to change our mission statement a little bit. His statement was, the mission of Sunset Empire Transportation District is to provide safe, reliable, friendly transportation services in a respectful manner to the citizens of Clatsop County.
Good.
I'd like to kind of justify the reason that I was suggesting the change. In our current statement, it talks about integrity and courtesy and sustainability and all. But while I ran operations and when I had counseling sessions with challenging employees, it was more difficult for me in the disciplinary process to tie their indiscretions to our mission statement. And if we boil this down to, in the order of importance, safety, reliability, which is on time service delivery, as well as not running out of money.
And every program, that's
Helpfulness and friendliness, then for management, for staff, and for the supervisory folks in operations. That's an easier mission statement to tie performance elements to when dealing with employees. It's something they can relate to easily and clearly. They can influence those four things on their bus or in their office daily, and it's easier to remember too. So that was kind of my thought behind it. There were many times that I had to discipline people, but I couldn't use the mission statement because it didn't clearly identify, it didn't relate to their infractions.
I'm not sure how you would phrase that in a mission statement.
Well, as Debbie just
What I
did,
Oh,
That's what I just
Yeah.
read.
Oh, too.
yeah.
Charles?
one of the things I realized when we were down and it was like Panic City and I think we forgot what we do. We're a rural bus company is what we are. We
We're not
sometimes,
accountants, We're not accountants, right?
No, we operate the house, there's a lot of terms for it, but it comes down to, and it made it clear to some of the people you talk to, when we talk to, we're a rural bus company. We depended on being a rural county bus company. That's what we are. I know we have other ideas of let's go do prison, whatever, let's go do rides to the airport, all of that. But in the end, we service Clatsop County. That's our initial service. And then we branch out from there with the idea that helps Clatsop County. We should do anything that just seems to help make us look like we're bigger than we are or than whatever. Because in the end, we all suffered through it, is that people needing, I see people walking across the bridge coming into Warrington, and I thought, I wonder what those people there are walking to get the only bus. And not about that, we're a bus company, and I think somewhere along the way, we might have aspired to be something different than that. And I think the statement reads exactly that, what we are. Sorry.
And I think that's critical moving forward. I think we need to take care internally in our routes that are local before we do anything outside of the district. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, that's why I feel this is dated and really needs work.
So I don't know if you folks want to change the mission statement, I'm not sure exactly how much work that would be. I like Paul's better than what we have right now, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I like the reasoning behind it, you know, that it serves, it really is, you know, a useful tool. And it's an improvement over the one that we have, so if there isn't any, you know, a lot of falderall to make a change, I would make a motion to move to change our existing mission statement to the one that Paul has proposed.
Could you read it again?
Yeah. Mary, can we do that in this meeting, or would we have to take it to the,
You should take it to the board.
take it to the board meeting
Okay.
tonight?
All right,
Okay. Withdraw your motion, please.
all right, I withdraw my motion.
But I think we should go into the change, we've already all agreed that we want to do it.
Sounds like.
But I hate to get in that meeting and all of a sudden we're arguing over the mission statement, and then it looks like we weren't behind it at all.
Exactly.
So we should kind of know that we all agree with that we're gonna change it.
Yeah, I agree, and this is maybe a good time for us to say, you know, we wanna kind of put our best foot forward tonight. I mean, it's a regular board meeting and everything, but, you know, if we do have people in the audience, I hope that we keep a tight ship tonight.
And Mary, I can bring this in a form, because I just didn't,
So if you give it to me, then we can have an addition to the agenda and have a
Yeah.
handout with that on there.
Yeah.
Then it goes public. That's the main thing. We wanna make sure that the public has access to it
Okay.
as well.
We're Phoenix guys, we rose out of the ashes, so we should have a new statement.
so the mission, so it is, the mission of Sunset Empire Transportation District is to provide safe, reliable, help, friendly transportation services in a respectful manner to the citizens of Clatsop County.
Is it safe,
That's
reliable, helpful?
Well, it didn't, in what you said to me, it doesn't say helpful, but we could make it.
That was my error, if that's the case, it's-
Okay, helpful.
somebody else must have typed that up for me.
To the citizens.
Wasn't
Before
it-
nap or after nap.
Wasn't it
Yeah.
wanted to?
Would we want to add financial?
My thought on that is that it talks about, we have people that come in from outside of Clatsop County.
They don't get right our bus.
They don't get to ride our bus, okay, fine. But just to the citizens in that, well, I guess that works. I just trying to broaden it a
It's
little bit.
mainly, but, yeah, we'll let anybody on.
What was the discrepancy between helpful, can you read it again
Yeah.
as corrected?
It just had help, and it should be helpful. So the mission of Sunset Empire Transportation District is to provide safe, reliable, helpful, friendly transportation services in a respectful manner to the citizens of Clatsop County.
It has a good flow to it.
And then anybody else that has $1 to get on the bus.
Yeah.
I just was trying to broaden it a little
Well,
bit.
to Kelly's point, it could be to the riders of Clatsop County, bus riders of Clatsop
To the bus
County.
riders of Clatsop
That
County.
doesn't change the impetus of that statement, really. It may be better.
I'll type it up, bring copies. All right. Shall we go over the list that we have in front of us?
Let's do it.
Okay, so for 20, we didn't meet in December of 22, is that when we met? November of 22, so this was,
Comment, just a quick comment before you start.
yes,
So if you remember, on that meeting that we had down at the hotel, Holiday Inn.
Seaside, yep.
Yeah. So you came up with this list. Jeff prioritized it and brought it back. That's my memory that Jeff sort of prioritized it. And from this prioritization, he made a goal list. And he had a goal list that he was working on that you would see in the board meetings, where he was on that goal list.
I remember.
So just saying that it,
So, do you wanna do this?
Sure.
Okay, you go for it.
All right, let's talk about, expanding the Lower Columbia Connector route.
Take that out right
I
now.
think that's
Let's take that out for right now. I mean, I know it's a wanted thing, maybe Pamela may see differently on it, but
I don't, I do see it differently, but I don't think we're ready for it.
that's exactly, yeah.
that's,
And so expanding, first of all, you have to make it solid before you expand something. But in this situation where you are in now, we need to establish the routes that we have. But I would not, I would always keep this in mind and do more marketing, improvement of roads, that the bus goes on, et cetera, but not for these next 2 years.
And I think that maybe what we need to do is, as we are going through this list, is, you know, put something on the sideline, you know, and then come back and see where it fits in on the prioritization, because, you know, we have some categories here.
if it does in the
Yeah,
next
so
2
it's
years.
like, put it in the, what would that be called, you know, like the holding.
Parking lot.
Parking lot, very good.
Paul,
Yeah, I do have strong feelings about that route. And it's slightly different than the other views that have been stated, because I think we have a responsibility to consider those people that live in Westport and Clastonite, which is where our service area ended before we decided to go all the way to Portland. And that part of our strategy should be to work with Columbia County for them to reestablish their route to Clastonite, so that together we can reestablish the Connect Oregon loop that we're supposed to be a part of, which right now we're really not. We're really not providing any connectivity outside of our county. So I hope that when we have the discussion, and I agree with everybody saying we need to take care of, you know, the population centers in our county until that's reliable and sustainable. But any expansion, I think, should be limited to Claxon County. I don't think we have any business having to take up something that Columbia County is positioned politically and geographically to handle. They're part of the Connector Alliance as well.
and I agree with you, if we could work with them. And, because didn't we do that at one time?
Oh, absolutely.
That's how
Yeah,
it started,
That's how
right?
it started, and then they backed off and we picked up that route.
Right, and I think that's where we went wrong. We picked up something they should have been doing, and it ultimately contributed to our collapse, because we reached too far.
And looking at the ridership numbers for that route, it really wasn't there, especially going all the way to the airport.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah,
it was, I mean, there are a lot of things to work out, but I'd like to think, you know, 5 years from now, to keep it, in mind. And I just want to say, I'm a little concerned about riders of Clatsop County, because the bus system, I mean, all the buses I've taken in my life, you know, you don't have to be from where the origin of the bus is to use it. So I wouldn't want to, this is a tourist area, we're a part of the Alliance. And so when you say Clatsop County, you know, the Alliance goes through 4 other counties, so I think it doesn't show what we really are doing now.
How about a one-word switch, riders in Clatsop County instead of riders of, a thought? Because would that seem like that would be inclusive of everybody that's using our system?
It's better.
I got it.
I think when you travel and catch a bus somewhere that's not where you live, you're happy that you caught the bus in Alameda County or Los Angeles County. You know the bus wasn't designed for you. So I assume I'm in Los Angeles riding the MAX in Los Angeles. And so I think in the county works fine. Because I think people who are not from there realize that the bus system in the end was built for people who live there, just because they use it all the time. But the N fixes that.
Well, so going back to the thing about where, you know, how we're formulating this, that this may help us out as we work through this list. is that, and this is an organic process, you know, because I really do think that, but I think we could maybe include, like what Paul just had to say, is that with a little bit of language about, you know, how we're gonna go about that. Whether we put it, I mean, sometimes top priority, you know, that's a category that's got some wiggle room with it, but if we were to explain where we were going with that, Lower Columbia connector and working with Columbia County, it would provide a little bit more context to how we're gonna accomplish that.
Oh, and I agree. I think that the deliverable from this meeting is gonna be the strategy and how we're gonna get there. So at some point, when the results of this meeting are documented, then I think that narrative would be in there.
Okay.
And I kind of got a way forward from here. I think that we could approach it. I think in the 25 through 27 stiff discretionary cycle, we can maybe apply for buses, more appropriate sized buses for that route and get that going. It takes a while to get buses, and maybe smaller buses. We'd apply for like 2 of them. We get that done in the 2-year cycle, and then maybe get it going in the 27 through 29 cycle. But we apply for funding for the route through stiff discretionary. Since it's outside of the district or close to being outside of the district, and it's extending the route with the Columbia County connector, I think it would be a viable approach that wouldn't affect our in-district funding.
That level of detail, I think, would be very useful for us to
Yeah.
have included.
Pamela?
I thought, and perhaps my memory isn't good, that there is a grant for micro transit. And that would be like 25 to 27, to talk to Jennifer about that
We
we
got
had
the one.
approved.
Have we got the microtransit? We moved, that's the next stop.
No, I'm saying that we have a grant that we approved, the board approved. But it would be for 25, 27, something like that. Talk to Jennifer.
Are you talking about purchasing buses?
Right,
We do have a grant that is available for us to purchase 4 buses, but it's not necessarily microtransit.
oh, I thought it was.
No, it's just, what size buses?
We're gonna most likely order 12 by 2s. They could probably be used like on the warranted route that we started. It could be used on paratransit, or if we
Again,
decide to
are you on
implement
Zoom?
microtransit.
Oh, it wasn't specifically.
Well, we started at 9.
Okay, my mistake.
I'll have Mary bring you in.
But I think as far as the Columbia, as the Lower Columbia connector goes, I think keeping it in,
That's all right, go ahead and get.
in the parking lot, maybe for lack of a better term, is, I mean, I think it's a good idea, but I don't think going back to Portland, is anything
All right.
that we'll be looking at.
Okay.
It
Give him
just
just a
doesn't
minute.
seem sustainable.
No, like Paul said, meeting up with like Columbia County
Right.
is the way forward.
And I had thought about that too.
So how we do the Tillamook County now, in Tanner Beach, we, the reasons.
Yeah, and that's what we used to do with the Lower Columbia connector, was meet up with Columbia County. And we would drop, they would pick up, and then continue on to Portland, and then the same coming back.
Yeah.
And I think that's more sustainable and makes more sense for us in the future.
And just at one point is that, just use the pun, is to coordinate with Point. That also goes to Portland. So when you do set up a schedule that, go at the same times.
Yeah.
But it goes 26, so it wouldn't really, would it?
It
Yeah.
wouldn't goes
Really?
26.
So it wouldn't really.
But I think I feel sometimes that Sunset doesn't work quite good. Work always together with Point.
I think that's Point's choice to, I don't think
Well,
it's
yeah,
us.
Point, we
They
have
don't
to,
wanna deal with us.
ODOT and
I think we're getting into the weeds.
Yeah.
I think that Craig was going through this list just to put us in a place in the meeting, and I think we've already
Yeah.
used up almost half the scheduled time.
Holy moly. All right, let's look at implementing microtransit. I have some ideas on this, but let's hear your guys' ideas.
I think you should do it.
I think we should, we're depending on your expertise there.
So in the restarting of these routes, in
Okay,
order to
alright.
get the most favorable schedule for our drivers and keep our costs down, we've kind of split the routes where there's a gap in. Route 10 doesn't start till like 9 o'clock. So there's a gap like in the early mornings there between like 6 and 9. I think it would benefit us to start a pilot program where we cover some of these gaps in our schedules with microtransit. It's gonna require, we've had internal talks about it, it's gonna require some more staffing because people will be calling in, to get these trips, and we don't have the appropriate staffing at this level. But it's something I think going forward we can experiment with and see how it works.
What, I don't know operations, but having taken the bus from Astoria to Warrenton, there's the beginning, work hours, and then there'd be passengers, and then you have your in-between hours that don't have as many passengers, can you do microtransit for the lesser used time periods?
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. In surveying the routes, if we're averaging 2 passengers in a given hour, let's say on the Warrenton route, then it would be most likely justifiable to use microtransit in its place. It would get people there more quickly and be more convenient for them.
I'm even know that, the city I moved here from has microtransit. And they were also able to get around the CDL problem. So you can get smaller vehicles and you can get drivers for those. They use basically a large van. It's like a 12-seater, 9-seat van. But they were marked in transit district colors and everything. But it helped them on the CDL problem.
Yeah.
Is what it did. That's what they found out.
Does that work in this state?
Be like a chauffeur's license, kind of.
Well, the reason we're ordering the buses initially, our talks are to order the 12 and 2 is because you're not required to have a CDL to drive this. So
So it would give us a chance to maybe get more.
I had mixed
Better
results in hiring non-CDL down south. The quality and reliability wasn't as good as the CDL drivers, but I haven't tried it here, so we can see how it works here.
Why did you think that was so?
The driver shortage has been going on for a while now across the nation. You're seeing it at most transits. They don't have enough staffing to keep buses out on the road.
So why did you think that? Why do you think that people who did not have CDL weren't as reliable?
Just given their attendance, the problems we ran into, the drivers in terms of discipline, et cetera, the quality just wasn't as good as a CDL driver.
Charles?
I think again, the city I came from, what they're able to do is crack these recently retired population who's not going if you're 60, 65, you're not gonna get a CDL, but you certainly can drive, safe driver. So I think it taps into a crowd of reservoir drivers that may not, they see CDL, trust me, since I was out on the wind, but I wouldn't wanna have to go get a CDL license when I retired. But if you said, we have a bus driving job for you, I have a clean driving record, we can pass all the other prerequisites. I think it may tap into them as far as getting those drivers for the microtransit.
Yeah, let's, try to keep on task here with just going through the list without, we're all tempted, but we're on a roll here.
Okay, then we'll keep moving.
Okay.
All right, here's one that probably should go to the top of our list, and that's recruitment and retention of employees. We've almost exhausted our list of callback. As you know, there's a huge gap in the transit industry with finding qualified CDL drivers. There's a shortage nationwide, and it's projected to continue. Also, we need to look at retention, keeping present staff, keeping our drivers as we move forward.
Question, so what is the process right now to reach that goal for retention?
We want to make sure that we're competitive salary-wise. Sue is doing a wage study right now, and you'll see that at the budget committee meeting. You'll see a presentation on that. But yeah, that is it's very important moving forward. We have some really good people here. We have some exceptional employees who have stayed through all of the financial tumult and have come out on the other side. I think we need to retain them.
I just make a point on that issue, not to get into the weeds again, but again, having spent some time in operations, I would say that we kept those good people, that's true. But if they're good people, they can get a job anywhere. The reason people stay is because of their job satisfaction. And a lot of that job satisfaction comes from their relationship with their supervisor. We have had historically not a very deep supervisory pool. So I think as part of this program, we need to include development of supervisory staff and their professionalism and whatever other skills they need to develop, psychological skills or other people's skills, because that's where we're going to make the difference. The district can provide certain benefits for being an employee here, but the day-to-day is between the employee and his or her direct supervisor. We need to make sure those people are the right people in that position.
I agree with you on that, Paul. If you like your supervisor, even if it doesn't pay maybe as much as you could get next door, you're gonna stay because of that you'll be loyal to that supervisor.
Exactly, so important for us to.
And I've worked under a lot of supervisors that had no training, and you're just not loyal to them.
Isn't it people don't quit a job, they quit a manager?
I like that, and I think that should be, at this point, anyway, I think that should be our number one, because we're not gonna be able to expand if we can't get any more drivers.
Right.
Can I
Okay.
speak to that, you guys?
Yes,
Okay,
Tracy. Welcome,
So-
Tracy.
well, thank you, I'm sorry.
Turn your volume up, Tracy. Me again.
And as the non-CDL paratransit driver, the relationship that I had with the supervisors and the trainers was paramount to me staying for 11 years. So, and so also,
Investigators were also horrified to discover the sadistic use of a homemade tourniquet.
oh boy,
The florid petechiae
Hello.
in her eye caused the medical
I have some
examiner to suggest.
audio issues here. So,
We're having
I'm sorry.
technical difficulties.
I tried to turn the volume up. and I
Oh,
turned-
there we go. Oh, all right.
Movie break.
Okay.
Tracy, talk really
Releasing it,
loud.
reviving or doing it again and again and again.
What is sadistically important is that he is in total control over the victim, and having her die slowly and having her suffer and having her know that he is in complete control of her life is arousing to him. And so he's going to try to prolong her agony as much as he possibly can in order to satisfy himself.
The unique sadistic traits displayed in both the Southside killings brought police to a chilling conclusion.
We knew at that point in time that something was going on. The rituals, the alteration of the crime scene were identical in both scenes, so we knew we were looking for one person.
I said, it's the same son of a bitch killed every day.
I'm moving, because when it comes back, I don't want
Tracy, you're back.
Which one was it? The
HDMI one.
Okay.
Turn your volume up, Tracy, on your.
Sorry.
It'll make it easier.
That's okay.
it's not.
Okay. So how do you turn it up? If you don't use that?
It should be the remote. Is there a volume?
I tried, see, down at the bottom of the remote is a volume.
There used to be a volume up here, I thought.
We can exit out of this and we'll take us
See what
back to
you
the
call
regular
Tracy.
stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now try it, Tracy.
How's that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Everybody left the meeting. so-
Better?
We left the rest of them.
Sorry.
We need a little break.
We took a movie break, Tracy.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Everybody, Tracy's talking, so let's go get a break.
Sorry.
We will bring the popcorn in shortly. Okay,
You're much better than the movie.
all right.
Don't feel bad, Mary.
I'm impressed with Mary got it all running.
What would really be bad is if I was in control
Well,
of
it
the
would
buttons.
be hopeless case. You were. Tech is not your middle name.
But I am treatable.
All right, Tracy, I think we're all back.
Okay, and mine wasn't all that important. It's just that I wanted to comment that as an 11-year driver with a non-CDL, it was kind of paramount to me to have a pretty good relationship with my supervisors, and it made it easier when you're climbing into rigs at 4:30 and 2:30 to get to Portland by 6 or 7, to know that your supervisor is kind of beside you there. So it made a difference for me, and I would like to make sure that this is paramount to our strategic goals. So
Thank you, Tracy.
Yeah.
Okay, Mary went to make coffee, but I think we can go on. Emergency plan?
Emergency plan.
I had a quickie, I think it's in, if I noticed this, emergency plan is tsunami and everything that falls less than a tsunami, right? Cause I keep hearing about the Warrington location is in the center of the tsunami.
Tsunami zone, yeah.
So is this emergency plan will deal with that?
No, it's back here.
Is it, did I miss it?
There's like, I think this is an emergency plan and then there's like an evacuation, right?
So that-
Evacuation is more.
So the plan was to get out of that building.
Relocation or to.
Relocation.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Well, there's also a Northwest Natural Disaster Plan for the county.
So I think this emergency plan, and I may be wrong about this, but isn't this like accidents on 101 and we have to reroute our buses? Is that kind of
That happened this week.
last week?
Yeah, we had to do this week.
But
I think it would include that.
Well, the question is, how sound is our, plan, already in existence? I mean, do we already have a good plan, or is there more work to be done? I guess,
Oh, there's
I
more
guess
work to
if
be
there's
done.
more work to be done, then it goes higher up on the priority list, right? Is that how
Well,
we're
then,
thinking of it?
if we read this whole thing, it says update, operational emergency.
Oh, okay.
Let's read out the whole thing.
Okay,
So I kind of think that's important.
Higher priority, so maybe.
It should at least be in the top priorities.
Behind recruit.
It's a possibility that it should be behind.
Yeah, I think it should.
So, okay. What about,
I guess I wanna know exactly what level you guys wanna go to, because, we had down south, I had a relationship like with the fire department. They had a fire in an apartment building and called me up. We had 2 buses there in 15 minutes. So I mean, how do you wanna go forward with this? Do you want to, develop the relationships with some of the community stakeholders and be available to?
Yes.
Yes.
I think so.
If we don't have that enhanced relationship, we should.
It's great PR. I mean, we were on the front page of the paper, our bus was.
So we're
Their
adding,
bus.
we're adding that, right?
Don't we
Good
have
idea.
something similar to that, Paul?
We did spend the better part of a couple of years working with most of the stakeholders in the county in FEMA to
Okay.
develop the natural hazard mitigation plan, which FEMA finally approved, which has some funding associated to it and all. And we are on the county's coordinated plan. The problem is that nobody within the district knows what his or her particular responsibility would be, who to contact, what radio frequencies to monitor. And like any emergency plan, if you don't practice, if you don't have drills, and you don't have an emergency, pretty soon your plan is of no value. And we haven't had drills for years on these sorts of things. I look at medical emergencies, I look at behavioral emergencies. We've had behavioral emergencies. We've had a driver assaulted in the seat of her bus right here. But nowhere was there any training or work by staff or line employees to know what to do in such an event. So I think it's extremely important, but it will be no good unless we have drills.
A drill schedule.
So
It's
Yeah,
important.
regular drills, regular training. You know, some of this stuff, accidents doesn't, if we're talking about rerouting buses because of an accident, I don't know that that requires a drill, but it does require a plan. It does require revisiting them once in a while to make sure staff is all in hand. The example of what scared me about these things is if right now a earthquake hit and you have a driver out on 101 and he's down in Seaside and there's an earthquake, what does he do? If you asked him today, if there's an earthquake, what would you do? Who would you call? What would you do with your bus? If you couldn't, if the radio was out, where would you go? You know, nobody knows. In the whole district, nobody knows what that would be.
So this is really something that it should be training the staff, setting some drills, doing drills, so we know, and the staff knows what to do. If we can, so if we have a plan somewhere, we need to read that plan, update if needed, and train staff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Probably should coordinate with other agencies. There may be one or two that already have a good plan, maybe your old stuff perhaps has a plan. I don't know.
And then, you know, having a relationship with like the Astoria Police Department here, they could probably come in and do some training with staff as to how to, you know, self-defense type training.
Active shooter.
Yeah, things like that. So, yeah, there could be benefits from having those relationships.
Charles, did you have yours?
Yeah, I think I think this needs to be a specific meeting to lay, I mean, we can put it in our plan, but we need to set up a meeting and sort of come up with the plan itself, right? Because
That's what we have staff for. So staff, put together a plan to present to the board.
yeah, you're right, Paul.
Yeah.
But there's some, I was gonna throw in some stuff. See, I think I lived where there was an earthquake. I was on the 880 in Oakland when they had an earthquake knocked the bridge down. Luckily for all you folks, I'm here to talk to you guys. I hadn't got to the collapse part. But, so I think it needs to go into effect, you know, we need to get on this and kind of get it done, because I often wonder, what would we do if an earthquake knocked out the 101, the Warrington Bridge? What would we do? How would we get people here? And secondly would be, say there was a problem, call in and we don't have drivers, we don't have anyone here at the station. Does that call, does Kelly turn into a bus driver? Does she go?
Absolutely not.
You don't want
I
to
do
have a
know.
bus. Greg turns into a bus driver.
Greg does, you know, so what do we do? So I'd like to, you know, come up with a plan that we all
Yeah, that sounds good.
So this is a close to number one, I would think.
Yeah.
It's not a number one, but
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
close to
Because
number one.
emergencies don't come when you plan on them,
Right.
they come when you not expect them.
Did you have anything, Diego?
No, it's been that.
Okay. All right, all right. This is the relocation. This is a large project.
Relocation.
Big project.
And I don't know, it's an important one, but with everything else we have going on right now, it's like number 3 on our list. I know our old director, it was really important to him. And it is, if we are in the tsunami zone, it is important. But it's also a huge project, and where does the money come from? And right now, we don't have the money. Well,
It'll be quick, Rick, I promise. The thing about the tsunamis is that you have some time. Earthquakes, you have no time. They hit right then. Tsunami, it's coming. It's gonna be 30 minutes or whatever, 15, 20 minutes. So it helps leave you a little time to evacuate. It's little, I may not be enough. So, but, I think we definitely need to, I think it's how do we get our people out of Warrington, and how do we get our buses, I don't know.
that's in the emergency training. Oh, I think Paul was before.
Okay, go ahead.
I would just say that this is probably a 5 or 6 year project, but I think it needs to be a part of our strategy. If we're already saying we got 30 minutes to evacuate, wouldn't it make sense if we had a facility someplace we didn't have to evacuate? And from that facility, we could still provide service to other agencies that would need us during the emergency. The other reason this is important is because if the bridge goes out and all of our buses are parked in Warrenton, there's no way that we can give any support to Astoria or all the residents that live east of Astoria. Relocation of the facility was to incorporate a part of the plan that would have the buses, bus yards at 2 different points in the county on each side of the bridge, so that we would have buses there in the off hours if there was an emergency. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry, I guess what I want to say is that if we want to relocate, if we agree that relocation is a good idea, we ought to say that we want to be relocated by 2030. And we should start talking to ODOT, we should start talking to our partners and talking to FEMA and begin to line stuff up. Because it's going to be an expensive project. I would think it would be $5 or $6 million anyway. And as far as funding availability, we've never had as much money in the bank since I've been associated here as we have right now. So we're on a path to be able to do our part of putting, matching funds aside. And there will be grants, from federal, from state, for this type of project. I don't know, this is a 5339 project, I think. So if we start lobbying now with a target date, and if we don't have a target date, we'll never hit it. But if we say 2030, and that's one of our goals that we revisit with every budget, and with every SDO conference and every OTC conference, we might get there.
I think we could also start talking to, like, sorry, Rebecca.
That's okay, go ahead.
Like the county and some of the cities, and see if they don't have a little piece of property that we could either purchase or maybe donate for something like that.
I think you're both right. I mean, it's time to start looking.
Yeah.
So that by 2030, hopefully we can do something, or have something in the works.
Yeah.
Or have something done. I mean,
Right.
2030 is 6 years. It's gonna have to have environmental, we have to do the engineering, all that jazz. So it's a long project.
I just wanted to add my agreement to that, because that's where I was going, is that we don't just put something, maybe the parking lot's the wrong term, because it's not just stagnant, it's not just sitting somewhere where we're gonna pick it up. We have a plan, it is a longer term plan, and there are all kinds of things that we are gonna implement along the way in order to accomplish that. So we may end up, it might just have a little different way of prioritizing, maybe in terms of the range of accomplishment or something. But no, you're spot on, Paul, about that. I want all of those kinds of projects to be, we're working on them concurrently.
And I would think after a couple of years of proving that we're financially responsible, that the FTA would consider us for a grant along those lines. And that's the projection I've been told. It'd be probably about 2 years of showing that you're fiscally responsible before we get something like that. However, I think we definitely can make a good case considering Warrenton is in this tsunami zone. So I don't think it would be a hard sell to qualify for that, so.
My final point, if I might, we need to make that plan based on what we think the district will look like in 6 years. You know, if all the other things that staff and the board have planned come to fruition, we'll have more buses on the road. Our ridership will be back to where it used to be. We may be doing cruise ships again. We're gonna be busy again. We're gonna have revenue income again. And it's not gonna look like it does today. It's gonna look like it'll look in 6 years. So this thing that we envision isn't to replace the facility that we have now, is to replace what the facility will be in 6 years.
What it needs to be in 6 years.
Yeah, and you know, you guys thinking outside of the box, I mean, do you want to continue to maintain 2 facilities? Do we want to just locate to 1 facility? You know, those are things you all, you got to consider long term.
And other things are gonna contribute to making those decisions as we
Right.
go along.
Right.
All right,
All right, next up is operations manuals, update for all departments. Me and Jennifer are currently working on a manual for the drivers specifically that they can have that goes over all our policies. And it's kind of in conjunction with the update of our personnel policies that we're still working on. So any thoughts on them?
I think it's a great idea that there is a manual for every position. You never know what's gonna happen, who's gonna all of a sudden not be here tomorrow. And so you're replacing that person. If you've got something in writing, it's a lot easier to train.
Absolutely.
If somebody's, Mary keeps threatening to retire, I don't think she's going to, but she keeps threatening to. But whoever comes in and replaces her, Mary can't be replaced, but takes over, isn't gonna have the history that Mary has, and we use that a lot. But if there's a manual, some of that history will carry on, at least.
Sure.
Would have been, right?
It would have been nice when Craig started. It was some sort of manual we had. Thanks to Paul was here. Actually, Paul was already, right?
It's impossible for us to go out and hire somebody to replace Mary.
No.
Whoever we hire to replace her is gonna have to work with her for 6 months to a year.
At least.
At a minimum.
Hey.
So every time she tries to retire, I just stamp deny.
Not this week.
I have a question. Sure. I'm old school, okay, but in today's world, would you consider having an audio manual kind of a thing?
I never considered that.
And the reason I say that is because the other day, a good friend of mine said, quote, "Dude, you're getting old, you know they have audio things." I said, "I know that."
There's a YouTube video and everything.
Everything.
No,
Yeah,
I never
innovation.
considered that, yeah. It's definitely an option for us going forward.
It's also, I think they're also living documents, because things change.
Oh, yeah.
So you do have to go back and keep them updated, so. But I think they are important also.
So are we in agreement that each one of these priorities will have a drill down that will describe how they're gonna be accomplished? I think that really makes it a lot more
Our way
doable for the
forward.
people that are working on them,
Okay. Service enhancements?
Service enhancement, it's a fixed route service. As you know, we're going to restart Route 15. So I think at this point, we at least have a basic transit system in place that's serving our community. The question is gonna be, where do we go from here? I think looking at microtransit, kind of trying at least through a pilot program to fill up some of the gaps we have in service. Maybe expanding the 101, which is one of our, if not the most popular route, the monster 101, Jennifer calls it. Any thoughts?
I think, I really like the idea of the micro transit, but I also would like to see more 101, shorter times. I don't take it, but I do know that some people do take it. I've taken it a couple of times. But I think the more times you come around, it makes it easier for people to adjust their schedules, their work schedules, so they're not getting to work an hour before they can clock in, that type of stuff. So I think adding to the 101.
I think that information, if there is any information gap, it's pretty easily retrievable with the people who are using, regular users who would offer they have a wish list of how they'd like it to be enhanced. Those are the users, the information should come from them.
Yeah, that's who we serve.
And on-time performance, I think that's important to make sure everybody gets to work or their appointments on time. But we all know on the coast.
We live on the coast.
Yeah. Sometimes can't be trying to see, so it can be 20 minutes, sometimes it can be 2 hours.
Yeah, especially on Friday.
Yes, so, but trying to keep on time.
All right, electronic signage and shelters.
That's, to me, would be a great idea. It would help Mary out. She wouldn't have to go to the shelters all the time. She could just do it from her computer.
Perhaps.
I will say this, it's highly unusual for a rural transit to have electronic signage in its shelters. I will tell you that.
I can see that. Yeah.
I would say enhancements to our shelters that would probably be appreciated would be like what Paul had brought up, having like garbage cans. Those would be a good amenity.
Having garbage cans outside the shelter.
Yeah.
And,
Not in.
Yes.
I'll go on, I know Tracy's gonna say this, but how about a shelter at Henson Lane?
Yeah.
Yes.
So those poor people are standing in the rain.
Right.
If you go to Costco in winter time, you see folks standing out.
Oh, yeah, it's horrible.
It is horrible.
With
And,
regard to it,
And I ask for concrete donation enough to do both Sunset Beach and Ensign, but not having Ensign use the large shelter, but the standard one, the things that you see now in there, and so, and I'm a little further down in the agenda, so anyway, I agree. The sooner the better.
Okay. I like the waste receptacles outside.
Yeah,
And lighting though, isn't lighting about as hard to do as your electric signs? Or what about solar lighting?
You can.
So with the daylight, daylight sensor.
We don't get a lot of sunshine here for those.
I know you're excited, but Pam was first.
A suggestion is to have electronic signs in places like the hospitals. And you could survey how many people, say, use the bus from Fred Meyer or Costco, and to have signage in your large employment centers, and perhaps in your, not too sure about this one, but in your theaters. Maybe Liberty Theater, I don't think Columbia, no. But that's a thought. I mean, it's done in Portland for hospitals. They have electronic schedules.
Oh, inside the hospital?
Inside the hospital, in clinics, if they're a large clinic, to do that. The other thing is safety, and I'm not too sure, as a transit rider, like coming here at night is not good. There's no, I'm a person, when I travel, where can I go if I'm in trouble? So if you're dropped off from the point, which is the latest, I think, here, so there's nothing open. So there's no place to go. I don't know how to solve this. I mean, you could say you can pull out your phone, blah, blah, but there are transit shelters that are so isolated, and I don't know how to solve this.
We have lighting at some shelters already that's become inoperative over time. There's solar panels, for example, Brady's, there's solar panels on top, there's lighting inside. The wiring between the two has been interrupted somehow. But there are plenty of aftermarket kits that can be added to shelters to provide lighting. And even if we don't have a sunny day, there are batteries on those things, so they can get by a day or two without sun.
I was reading something on solar panel, on solar lighting, and they say that the UV rays come through the clouds more than you think.
Oh, yeah.
So you get way more out of it than you expect.
The other thing that I think should definitely be a part of our shelter program is to identify and install, even if we have to have them perhaps fabricated, is some sort of document holders.
Yeah,
So that
definitely,
they're weatherproof and we can put a document up and it can't be taken down by the riders and it can't be washed away by the humid weather. It would certainly save Mary a lot of labor, and it would make a better presentation to the riders. Right now, Mary and I have talked about it quite a bit. Sometimes our shelters get to look really bad because we have so much stuff to put up. We have the old route and the new route. They have to coexist for a while, and Title VI and all the other things that go up. It'd be nice if we had a piece of real estate in each shelter, and that was the limit of the space we had, and we needed to manage it better.
Yeah, I think definitely doing like a refresh on our shelters would be a really good thing going forward. One of the most noticeable things that I notice in going by them is the seats and how they're wore out. Some of them appear to have rust on them.
It's a lane again.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. It's like,
Yeah, and you know, that's how a lot of the public is perceiving us, is when they see that bus shelter, how we're doing, or when they see the bus, they don't see the inner workings of the transit. That's what they base their opinion on. So I think it's pretty important we do,
I
we
think so
do
too.
that.
As a person who's bilingual in Spanish and English, I've always noticed that, for example, when I do my walk in Warrington, near the housing development, I've noticed there's a sign in English, but there's nothing in Spanish. And I don't know if that's consistent throughout the other shelters. So I think it's pretty significant for those folks who are monolingual.
You put them both up, don't you?
maybe they may be pulling them down. Oh.
Cause I know
If
we've
it's an
started doing
announcement, if it's that announcement that is in the shelter, because that's required in the shelter, it is bilingual. But almost everything I do is bilingual, so I don't know,
Maybe that's.
It could be swiping them.
but the shelter you're walking by is down by the market,
Before
by
we,
the park,
Yes.
yes. And we haven't, I haven't gone by there for, because we really don't use that stop. We will,
but we will.
we will,
You-
we will
On
on
with
the
the
1st
Walmart.
of May, so I'll go refresh that.
Thank you.
Charles?
This is quick. You know, one of the signs of new birth is new coat of paint. And maybe we should just, even before the plan, just, fresh coat of paint looks like, oh man, things are going well. They're painting the,
They must have money.
yeah, or wow, things are going well. Fresh coat of paint does do a
No, I
long
think
ways.
that's a good idea, and it's not, I mean,
It's not prohibitive
it's,
cost wise.
No.
Just wanted to tag on that. And this is personal. I'm sick of looking at that rusty rock in the front of the door. I feel like I'm going to, entering, what do you call it, on the door?
the log?
The thing.
By our front door right here.
The door.
But that's
The entrance right here.
Right, look at it.
That is something that we're putting in the budget for the budget cycle.
Okay, and the other thing is, one, that there's a lack of receptacles and there's a talk about, well, then they just pile up, who's gonna collect it? But if you give them nothing, then you're going to have trash. And the other thing is, and I'm not sure how feasible this is, there's certain bus stops that, this may be an ODOT question rather, that it's safer to have a turnout. Now, there's an argument that traffic backs up because of the waiting and your schedule is not as tightly adhered to because you have to wait for traffic out. Perhaps that's not applicable here because it's not flat.
It's way more expensive.
I know it's expensive.
Millions.
This wouldn't be a, invasive situation, but like 101, I hate to stop in front of McDonald's on 101. That's where there was a death.
Oh,
there.
In Seaside.
In Seaside, there.
Yeah. So I
They
don't
put the
know.
pedestrian crosswalk with the lights. Have you been there since then?
Oh, no.
There's a button you can push. Pedestrians used to just run the gauntlet. Now there's one of those lights you turn on, it'll start flashing when someone is standing in the cross. They technically between the lights, they shouldn't be doing that, but people do. There's one there and there's one up by the almost to Taco Bell now. It's new. I guess this summer probably, last summer.
And then one other comment is that Convention Center in Seaside, for whatever reason, doesn't have a bus stop. And if you want an electric sign, boy, they have a lot of people coming in there. And you could certainly increase your transportation and lessen congestion. That's it.
We don't, we don't have a route.
This time we don't go there.
I know you don't. So it was never, when the addition was built, there was no thought about it. Perhaps we should think about it or at least put an electronic sign.
How close do we get to it? Actually, I didn't know there's a bus that runs north and south on Mechanical Drive, isn't there? And it has to stop on First.
Transit.
In our 20-year plan, I don't know how close we're gonna
20
adhere
years.
to that.
I won't be on the board then.
Well, it doesn't mean at the end of 20 years, but in that plan, and at the time it's actually already passed, was a seaside circulator. And that circulator would certainly service the convention center.
And that's similar to the one in Cannon Beach.
Yeah.
Also, that went through downtown.
No, the street car? Except I think it was year-round, in Seaside. I think we were gonna call it the
Intercity
17 or something.
That's a good one to, put on the wish list and because, seasonally, I mean, that would really, the business people in Seaside would really benefit from that. To get those people moving around those different businesses. If there was like a frequent, little local trolley or whatever.
Well, it would remove the need for the Cannon Beach bus to go by the hospital. If you have a seaside service.
Right.
So refresh.
And
Refresh. Don't forget that last one there.
so can I put in here, you guys?
Yes.
Okay,
Tracy.
so as long as this is a strategic and a plan. We need to address some kind of, I don't want to say it's a full transit center, but a stop of some kind in the Seaside area. Suggesting that we might look at the ever popular vacant land situation, that the piece of property north of the cinema is still for sale. That would have access for us and Point, and I realize we're not dealing with Point, but that is a central stopping area for that area. And also addressing Jason's ideas on his travel transit center and making it like a stop, like a gas station, pumping station island, somewhat enclosed. Or a large.
Is that in the tsunami zone?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you know, it is interesting, we don't have a lot of parking rides. And, you know, that is a location that is, you know, I mean, it would be on the long range plan, but when you think about it, you know, people breeze in and out, a lot of people will stop and do some shopping, you know, before or after work. And, you know, it is a central location, Seaside is. And that property it's not super big, but, you know, it could accommodate some, you know, where people would park there and then get on the bus and move on, you know, to work or whatever. But, you know, that's kind of in the weeds there, but, you know, something to maybe tack onto the wish list.
Let me comment.
Yes.
So, off of Wahana is 1,000 trails on the back road there, and I went and brought them schedules every day. And in the summertime, they had a huge amount of people that used to ride the bus.
That's the RV park.
Yes.
That's the RV
park,
park.
that's
It's a
right.
lot.
It's on
12th Avenue.
Yeah.
And we used to swing down, when we came down Wahana, and go scoop back there and scoop them up, and then go down to the cinema, and go to the cinema and then move on. But we also had the circulator, if you would, we had a bus that went through Seaside, it wasn't a new version, it was the older, it was a few years ago. However, we also had the streetcar to replace it in the summertime, but anyway, they begged me when I was there to talk to the board about maybe changing that route in the summertime at least. When we come down Wahana, we scoot down and go up, because there's just a lot of people that
It's such
have
a
big
short
motorhomes.
walk, really, for those people at the 1,000 trails. It's such a short walk for them to get to the cinema.
It's
Not,
a whole,
It's like a block and
it's
a
just
half.
that there's so many older
It's
people.
how old
It's an older crowd, it's not really, I mean, just saying that there's a lot of people that are older.
Yeah,
that are
it
traveling
would be
that way.
wonderful for them.
So, since we're on Wahana, it's just,
Yeah, that's something to look
Yep.
at.
you've been there
Thank you,
for,
Mary.
you know what we're talking about? I mean, Craig, you know where.
I haven't been on that back road.
In the summer, there'll be what, a couple of hundred RVs there in the summer, maybe.
oh, yes, yes.
It's a decent sized RV.
It's huge.
Very nice.
Okay, this will not go over well, but I'll do it anyway. In terms of the service enhancements, the word should be improvements, I would think improvements would be more appropriate. Enhancement means, oh, it's a little pretty, but improvements really help you in terms of your trip.
Refreshing, cleaning up, I think, yeah. And I marked off mural because we have other things to do right now.
Yeah, I think that there's a place for it because, you know, I actually beg to differ with you, Debbie.
That's because you're an artist and you can do it.
And you know, it's a big deal for folks here in this town, you know, with the murals. So I wouldn't
Wonder what it would cost
I
them.
wouldn't cross it off, and we have some really great muralists. Jo Brown, is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
She just finished revitalizing the one at TLC, the mural, and it really, there's a demographic of people in our community, up and down, you know, throughout the county, that really, that's a focus for them. And it's helping them to feel like we're doing something to enhance and beautify and care about the service.
Roger McKay too.
I think something like that should be a fundraiser to pay whatever the artist says, if it's whatever, I don't know what murals cost.
I don't either,
But I think it'd be cool to have a fundraiser, that way it looks like we took operating cost
Yeah,
to
yeah.
paint a building.
Yeah,
We have a
there's
fundraisers, how
a lot of ways you gotta flesh that out.
Yeah, but you don't want
But
the-
don't
the-
eliminate
the
it
using it
because
for drivers.
it's a part of PR.
It's marketing.
It could
This
also
is
be
what
beautiful
you
on the
have.
side of our building if it's
Really
done correctly. If it's something that enhances and brings, and I'm not a painting person, so brings awareness or brings, culture, those kinds of things, and we have a huge side that's got a whole lot of nothing on it, so there's definitely things that could be done, not
But there's already a
today.
network of muralists, so
Yeah.
just to say.
All right, you guys have convinced me not to put it on the list.
Because honestly, when you're coming in on Green Drive, you don't know, you pass us before you realize you got.
Yeah.
Right,
You
there
see
could
the
be
Bud Light
something-
sign.
Yeah, you see the Bud Light sign.
Yeah, the Bud Lights in the building. I've been missing
So you
something.
guys, Mary can't take notes.
This is the 15-year one.
Just to add a comment about marketing, just apply for a marketing
Yeah.
grant. But what I wanted to ask is the sign above transit, it is junky. Well, I brought this up some time ago, nobody seems to know where the contract is, they said it's forever. And I was wondering if.
I've seen the contract, Mary showed it to me, it's a
Oh.
25-year contract, I think we're in year 13. We make a robust $100 a month.
Well, then
Woo!
up the fee, up the fee.
can't-
But it's a
It's a contract.
It's a contract.
Who the heck,
The board,
Not this board.
A
not
board
this
member.
board.
but the board, agreed to.
Well,
Mary,
we
did you
have
have something?
individual boards here, remember?
So this has been a dream of mine for 15 years, this mural, I've been working on this. And just saying, I just think we should not wait much longer because I just think it's a marvelous opportunity for us to reach out, do some marketing on this huge space that we have where we can do it. I have got a lead on a person that does murals. Recently, he did the murals that are in the pool, I've never been to the pool here, but they're beautiful murals in there. And he actually donated them. So I'm
Really?
working on that angle.
That's the best price they can get, is
It's a very
donation.
good price.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Let him
So
donate,
hopefully-
they put his name.
Yeah, but anyway, that's kind of a
Okay.
offshoot.
We could have them do all 4 sides and say.
Thank you. Hopefully we can get that one.
All right, murals is back on the list. We'll see if we can get somebody to donate
It can be
some.
low on the list.
Okay,
But again, suggesting that someone donated the mural as opposed to we use money that we could be.
Yes.
Riders have a particular,
yes.
why you guys doing murals and you're not talking about bus back?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Additional priorities.
All right, now let's talk about marketing.
Murals, marketing.
I thought we done.
That would be marketing.
Yeah, that would definitely be marketing.
PSA.
In discussing budget with Mary, apparently over the years, she's been kind of limited in terms of marketing budget-wise. We plan on reinvigorating that budget going into the next year. You guys have any particular forms of marketing you'd like for us to attempt?
I think that there's some low hanging fruit where we could look at what others have done, not to reinvent the wheel. You know, do a little, whoever, take a look at it, you know, and then bring something back for us to look at, propose, and decide on. So we can get that going in short order, not make a super big deal out of it, and spend a lot of energy on it.
I think that, whatever we budget for Mary's marketing, that Mary should get to use and not be,
That's the point. She's
Yeah.
actually gonna be able to use the money.
yes, because we've always budgeted and she's never been allowed to use it.
Right.
And since it's yours, thanks, Mary.
In the recent past, I don't know if you remember this, but the Connector program was hiring, I was told that I couldn't market because we were hiring someone through the Connector. And they were going to present us with a wonderful marketing program, and that went on for almost 2 years. And that person never came.
We had a
We
grant.
had many
for that.
meetings about it, and it was, what?
We had a grant at one point
Yeah,
or something.
and I don't know what happened to that. I've never really known. She was a wonderful person from Arizona that was flying in and gonna help. And bring us. Flew right past us. I'm just thinking that was also one of the, you know, setbacks in a way, because there was no sense in marketing when that person was taking over. So, just saying. So, it's not an excuse, I'm just saying that.
Well, there's different forms of marketing we need to look at. I know when I was down south, I had a commercial shot that played on the Spectrum. It was only $400 to shoot the
Yes.
commercial. And,
Yes.
you know, we got a lot of rotation out of that, a lot of feedback on, I mean, do we wanna go that? Do we wanna stay print? Do we wanna stay Facebook? I mean, what do we wanna do here?
Charles, what do we wanna do here?
Well, people get their information, I'm talking about my grandson, people get their information different ways these days.
I think that's
TV is not one of them. TikTok, exactly that. But also, I tell you, the mobile device messaging is a sleeper. Folks may not answer an email, they may not even check them, but everybody looks at their text. And you may look at it and blow it off, but you look at it. And so we're learning in another sort of business I'm in, is that it's not very expensive to get into it. And you just build your database of phone numbers over time. And so you want to get a message after you send a broadcast text message. And even Gen Z people look at the text. They may delete it, which most people do, but, so I think that's something we should look at, mobile device messaging. And it's once you get in, you start building a database of numbers, and so you can get a message out there pretty quickly.
I'd like the staff to explore the possibility of generating revenue through advertising on the buses. If we had sign holders or whatever on the buses that we could use for that, we could also use those sign holders for our own internal marketing. We could rotate outside advertising and internal marketing, whether it's on the outside of the bus or over the windows on the inside of the bus. I don't know how prevalent that practice is in rural properties throughout the state, but certainly the metropolitan transit districts, it's a big part of their programs. But I'd like to see if there's any value there for us.
I was talking to someone at CMH, and apparently they put signs in a lot of places. CMH would be a great partner with these bus signs. Would be someone like CMH. I mean, their services apply to everybody, and when we talked to them, they wanted to be able to participate with us more. So we go to them and say,
I think that's a great idea, on the
signage on
inside,
the bus.
on the inside, not on the outside,
Yeah,
because I love our.
Now, on the inside,
But yeah.
most buses have, even in big cities, they have signage inside, hospital, go see us, we do best facelifts in the world, whatever.
Well, we got to the point we were actually, we came to an agreement with public health down south, and they paid for the wrap.
Exactly.
And a little more for the advertising. We committed to it for 2 years. But this is a story I've shared with Mary. You have to make it available to everyone in the community. We had a strip club that chose to participate, and we couldn't exclude them because we have to be open to everybody for advertising. So you have to look at it. From both perspectives going forward.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That was the fear of Ford before, was that we couldn't restrict who we marketed to and who we sold the ads to, and that we might not want to have something on the bus like that. That was before.
Well, I would like to say that I would like to see, when I drive up to the shelters, I'd rather see advertising than maps for places that we don't go to anymore. So with it, you know, those maps to nowhere. So.
Yeah, but there again, are we gonna advertise Annie's? Can I say that? Annie's, that's our strip.
Oh.
I guess it's still.
So now, I've been, now maybe, because I've been places where they had the right of refusal on businesses they did not want to advertise for. They went to pawn shops, things like that. So we have no right of refusal on anything.
No, it actually went to attorneys and we were forced to actually take the ad and we had to actually have it on our bus.
It has to do with federal money.
Yeah, federal funds, yeah.
Okay.
I was talking to CMH, they advertise everywhere. Great candidate.
Did that. That's
All right.
Please.
increase, well, did it very profitable? I mean,
Not really. I mean, when you break it all down and you get into the cost of the signage and all that, it wasn't a big money producer for us. For that.
But you know, marketing sometimes is not really about, you know, yielding revenue. It's really something that we do in order to increase our ridership and you know, I mean, we eat that price for marketing because it enhances us kind of on the back end,
Mhm.
so.
Okay, volunteer program? I would like to see this one better.
Yes, definitely. You know, we lost all our funding for the veterans program with the shutdown, but I think we should definitely apply for more funds going forward. That seemed to be a great program. And definitely could use the volunteers. And there's some more specifics that me and Jason have talked about in terms of the veterans program that we'd like to incorporate going forward. But I think just restarting that program would be great.
At some capacity.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Well, we have the benefit of having Jason, and there aren't too many people that are so dedicated and committed to their program as Jason is.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yes. Rebecca, wasn't Mark working?
Yeah, my husband was participating in that, but he just got a call not too long ago, and lungs, it used to be twice a month, veterans could go to Camp Riley for breakfast, and they had a free breakfast. And so it's not at Camp Riley anymore, it's going to be at the ESD, well, with the old Education Service District by Safeway, I think it's going to end up being an enhanced veterans location. But in the meantime, before that's gotten fixed up, LUMS has stepped up and said, we'll have the breakfast there. And he did get a call and they are gonna be doing that again, but it must not be through our program for rides for veterans. But Mark still has the people that he gave rides to through our program, and he's still taking them to the breakfast, so. You know, but Jason's the best person to work on this for us. Let me ask one question here, is that as we get through the rest of these, I made a note saying, is there more in addition to these? I don't know if we're gonna have time for that, to add to this list. And also, Craig, are you gonna work on this and
Oh, definitely.
and then reissue this to us as a draft?
Definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you.
In my thought on this was if we're gonna add anything to it, it's gotta come from you folks.
Right.
Is that right? Okay.
Just a quick question, if I could. Was there a
report generated or document generated from the last strategic planning meeting?
That's the one we had in 2022.
Yeah, I think we did have.
The first one?
That's 2022.
We worked off of it after it was implemented.
This is,
We had,
that's what, you wouldn't even have a document. This one was.
This was it.
This was the strategic plan, or these were the suggestions of?
Oh,
I thought this was developed and implemented, we worked off of it.
in 2022.
this is it.
Okay, so that's what it looked like when it was
But
done.
again, Jeff had his goals that came from this, that he made as well, that were an annual report that he worked off of, and then at the board meeting.
Yeah, so all this says, it doesn't talk about a strategic plan, there's not like an introductory paragraph. It says this is top priorities.
Okay.
There's no times, there's no budgetary information, anything like that.
I agree, I think it needs to be reworked, so it's a more user friendly, not user friendly, but a more valid product
Yeah.
that we work off of. Because we've gotta have those little subheaders, where, the timelines and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there ought to be an introductory statement, probably from the executive director as to what it represents. The commitment is good, but this just says top priorities.
Right.
So something a little more business-ish.
The meeting in 2022 was a retreat, right? We called
It was
we
down
called it
in
a
Hall,
retreat.
down in Seaside.
And I think what it did, it dealt with a lot of things, as opposed to this is more specific. This is a specific way we want to move forward, here's some of our priorities. So I think this should be a separate document, even if that other document still exists, I'm not sure if it does or not. I think this should be a separate document, and this should be visited either quarterly or something,
Well, and Jeff would put it in the minutes, what he had accomplished.
Well,
He highlighted what had been done and not done.
But of course, that was separate from the plan. Those were his goals.
But his goals were taken from this.
But his goals were only for the year.
Yeah.
This, I would think this is like, probably should be a 5-year project or a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
and we can see how much are we gaining on the 5-year plan.
And annually, and we have an annual strategic planning session where we look at the document and see if it needs to be
Yeah.
reconfigured.
Yeah, where we're at.
That's what we achieved.
Yeah.
What we get to take off the list.
Yeah. Because if it,
What has been accomplished.
so the achievements suggest we're moving forward. If we don't, if nothing ever comes off the list, then
Those priorities will change over.
they will. And we'll know a lot.
Mary?
We've developed several work plans for situations like this, and especially after the last fall that we had, the first one. But sort of like all the different things that we've had to do to get the funding, the very similar timeline, what had to be done, and the timeline, who was going to do it, and who was gonna accomplish it. And a format for that is pretty good, and I would think that that's where this should have gone, yes. For the timeline, department, who's responsible, and what the end result should be.
That would be a good working document.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Charles?
I think we need to insert, we sort of, COVID, we was just figuring out, just running, just figuring out day by day what we're gonna do. I think we did some things right and wrong, but I think somewhere that in case, COVID could be something else, but I think there needs to be some laid out plan, what happens in the event of another COVID.
Another pandemic.
Because we were kind of like, everyone was trying to, did that work? No, that didn't work, try doing that. Or, so I think we handled it as good as we could. But I think, Mary, I don't know if we were just flying by the seat, is there a procedural thing we did during COVID, or we just kind of make it up?
Social distancing, mask
Well, there were
requirements.
requirements,
I mean, it was,
Yeah.
it was like every day something.
And
We did some things, we hired someone to walk the buses down every trip, we did some things that were separate from what the CDC's plan was.
A lot of guidance from the CDC, obviously, with the things we had to do, but then there's enhancement to that but I don't think there was an actual written out plan that we had that we followed internally. Everything came externally and we.
This was fresh in our minds, but that should.
Plan for another pandemic.
You know,
I think we have to think about it, right?
this is something that is being discussed at the city level in Astoria about, gleaning, there's a group that is, forming in order to take all that we learned from COVID and, you know, making that a useful information in the future, so we're, you know, not having to just,
Reinvent the wheel.
yeah, right, so, Craig, if you would be, willing to maybe show our interest in that, when you have your leadership meetings where there are leaders from, City of Astoria and see where that's going. We could piggyback off of that maybe.
Yeah. That works. We did good, we did okay, but it was, we need to make a lot of stuff up.
Be nice if we had planned.
It was crazy.
Technologies?
Wi-Fi on the LLC.
My youngest daughter might even ride the bus then.
Well, so where are we on that and what's a ballpark of how that could happen? What's the problem of
I
that?
wouldn't recommend it right now. I mean, you're talking, you would need a person to make sure it keeps working once you get it established on there. I mean,
There's no Lower Columbia.
Yeah,
There's no Lower Columbia.
And if you can't live without Wi-Fi for the, 45 minutes
Everybody in
it
this
takes
room
to
can,
get.
but don't ask my grandson.
Yeah.
He said, no, I can't live without it ever.
and we had pretty good phone reception throughout the coast here. The phone reception's really good.
I would think it'd be nice to have Wi-Fi on the fixed track.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we did a lot of research, you know, when we were running the Columbia connector. And it turns out that the fear was that people who didn't otherwise have a good connection to the internet would use our connection to download large files and stuff. And the maintenance was a situation that once you get people used to having it on that trip, if it goes down, when
You're committed.
yeah, then you're getting all the complaints about, you know, why there's not service out there. But, you know, the way things are going anymore, I wonder if there's a place on our route that wouldn't automatically or already have connectivity just through the cell services. You know, why should we have to add infrastructure to our buses when the riders probably got as good a service on their phones? So the research we did before, it wasn't practical or economically advisable to get into it.
All right, website enhancements. I got some news to report there. Nuwata Mac Collective has completed the takeover of our website. We actually had our first training session last Friday.
We know the password.
Still getting there.
What's the name of the new group?
It's the Madison Avenue Collective.
These passwords.
And they do, if you want to see a website of what we're shooting for, if you go to rideclackamus.org.
Oh, Clackamas.
Yeah. So what we're working for or working towards is getting live updates on the website. You know, and they can view it through their phone where it actually shows where the bus is. They can do that through the rideclackamus.org. Yeah, so right now, I mean, they can view it on the transit app, you know, where the bus is. But it'd be nice to also have that GTFS information pulled available on the website. So they're working towards that right now. Also,
It'll show where all the buses are, not just the one you're looking for. It'll just be I'll look at Clackamas and see.
yeah, you can look at Clackamas, but generally you click on the area and it'll show you a live presentation of where the bus is at.
Oh, okay. Because the one we have, the transit one, it just shows you where your route, where your bus is.
Right, yeah, just for that particular route. Also, we're looking to come up with this gets off the path a little bit. We're also also looking to update a map that people can have. We're gonna have a certain amount of people that no matter what, they're still gonna want that map. They don't use a smartphone, they don't have internet at home. We're always gonna have a percentage of our population that is gonna rely on that. So we're gonna get one of those done. Mac Collective, getting back to the website, we'll start going through each section of the website and getting it updated. There's several service changes going on with like Tillamook Transit right now that they're working on getting implemented. The Route 15 information, as far as we've been told, has been input by Trillium at this point. We just have to flick a switch on the first and it should be on our website. We're gonna keep our fingers crossed because Trillium isn't the most reliable source to deal with. But they have the contract with ODOT for our GTFS information. So we're kind of committed to dealing with them. Apps, right now we're just on our the transit app right now. Have you guys ever talked about developing your own app or anything like that? I wouldn't recommend.
No.
It's a
We got
lot of
enough
work.
going
Sounds like a
on.
lot of work.
Transit app works,
It's good.
it's good, it's good. Of course, nothing can get it right this summer.
Right.
It's not, yeah, summer we can't expect apps in the summer, not in South Carolina, we can't.
You know, I like the transit app itself. One of the things I've noticed is when I look on the website at where the buses are positioned and I look at the transit app, there's that delay between the transit app giving accurate information and where the bus really
One
is.
said my bus was 20 minutes away and it had already gone.
Yes, that's the problem. That's the problem.
Figure that out.
A lag.
Do the lag time.
All right, next is streetcars. We have Astoria, Warrenton, and it says add to other communities. And I'm assuming we're talking about the trolley.
Cannon Beach.
So what's the status right now?
Yeah, we're not running it.
Not running it. I know that Tina Montero, she has an interest in having it for Seaside seasonally and for like special events and stuff.
I think it falls in our ongoing progression to restore service. It was very popular when we ran it. We ran it every summer. We ran it at Seaside, we ran it in Cannon Beach. Visitors came to rely on it when they came to the coast. We just haven't run it since pandemic, I guess.
19.
Since 19?
Since 19.
Yeah.
I felt like it ran
that
in
long.
20, I felt like it ran in 21.
No, they called it.
Yeah,
You know,
I
like-
looked it up yesterday and it's the last time I
Yeah.
could find us using it was in 19.
You know,
As
like,
far as a new, oh, sorry.
you know, like the kids,
Okay.
kids liked it.
It was a summer route thing. And 20 would have been when everything was shut down for COVID, and we haven't run it since then. So you're probably right, 19 is about right.
So you were saying earlier, Paul, it would replace the 20.
It ran weekdays in Cannon Beach,
Yes.
during the summer.
Mhm.
And it ran weekends in Seaside during the summer.
I see.
It didn't replace anything, but the 20-year plan suggests a Seaside circulator aside from the trolley program.
Okay.
Pamela?
Oh, I just want to put in, yes, I think that to do streetcars. I took a walk one day to see how the transit ran from Smith Point to downtown. There's no signage. And this is a while ago. And I walked backwards thinking, okay, Sunset, come on. So from Smith Point to Liberty Theater, there were no buses coming and there's no signage. And to one of the things I'd like to see is environmental addition, and this would help. But it would be nice, even if we can't get this, which I'd love to see, streetcar, because I think people would like to take it more than bus for whatever psychological reason. And two, you could, shop at one end, or you could do a lot of things. A lot of employers and retail, the minimum signage where it stops, and I was told the flag stops. Well, as a transit user, who to,
Is Smith Point where Safeway is?
No,
no,
over the bridge.
Where the
it's just before you hit the bridge.
Mega Bridge?
West.
Oh, west, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
By
across the
DMV.
Columbia.
By the DMV.
Oh, heading,
That's
okay.
Smith Point by DMV.
And that take that all the way back downtown.
Yeah, and did you go down Marine Drive, is that what you mean, you walk down Marine Drive or up over the hill or?
I walked over to be, so it'd be commercial. Is that right? If you go
On the
on,
north side.
yeah, if you
It's
go,
not Marine, it's Marine,
it would be, okay,
Marine, yeah,
Marine
okay.
Drive.
so,
All the way downtown.
right,
Yeah,
right.
we don't have any stuff.
And I think, to flag stops, and the answer that was given was, people know where they are. No, that's not how you operate a transit center. Agency to rely on somebody's history of where a stop is. You should show, that's part of what we do, is to show easily where a stop is.
Are there, there are no stops?
It's a flag stop.
Well, it's
Not until
common,
you get underneath the bridge.
it is common for rural transits to have flag stops because you have long stretches where it's just not convenient to put in a stop. But you wanna try to accommodate as many people as you can, as safely as you can. However, there is some judgment that's involved on behalf of the driver, but I've noticed that Rick here has gone out and actually looked at certain points that are traditionally flag stops, and then he'll deem them either safe or not safe. So it's not uncommon to do flag stops, and it is overall a benefit to the riders, but there is some question as to where exactly a flag stop, if it's, can be accommodated by the driver.
Right,
That's the hard part.
Right, right, but a flag stop means that the person has to know that it's a flag stop.
Right,
Or that you can do a flag stop.
right.
I mean, I've been told, I had a situation where I did an experiment with a couple of my neighbors, and we went down to Cannon Beach, Carlos, from Seaside, and we were, we live on 7th Avenue and off of Mechanical, and somebody said, just call in and we will make sure that the bus driver knows that there's gonna be people flagging them down in between stops. Now, I don't know if that became a real trend. Do we have the people that could, coordinate that?
I do believe we.
But do people know that, that we're small enough that we can do those kinds of things? I mean, that is kind of a nice thing that we have here.
Did it work for you?
Yeah, it was fantastic. We had a great time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
I think there are the places that are classic or regular flag stops, the drivers know, like driving between 101 and Cannon Beach. There's a couple stops there, there's no bus stop, but the driver, people be standing there waiting for the driver and they stop. Sometimes they'll stop and wait, and the person will come up in minutes. And there's some no stops already out there, and once the driver and folks that live in that area already know about.
but do we need to formalize that, and people don't really know about it, and
Get the
it's
word
safe,
out.
there's
Get the
a
word
lot
out.
of issues, yeah.
But I think a streetcar would facilitate, more passengers, and it'd be a different usage in some instances. It's almost like a hop on, hop off, but it's not a tourist. You go to, so,
Regular.
And then we get back to that part of needing the drivers.
I didn't say it was foolproof.
You dreamer.
No pun intended.
I mean, I love the streetcars, but
We need
buy them.
drivers.
Okay, well,
Drivers.
also horizons, okay, maybe this is 50.
It's the 20-year plan.
That's
Yes,
right.
20 years.
20 years.
20-year plan.
Can't you'll be around and reminding them.
That's how we prioritize.
Okay, and I'm like, over my grave, remember the 20 years.
Didn't forget the streetcars. All right, Yes, Mary.
So just the streetcar in Cannon Beach, they paid us for. They paid us to be down there. We got it, we didn't lose any money on it. We were paid, I don't think.
No, you're right.
We did not lose
Have
money.
we
on it.
asked for it?
Seaside did not pay us. So we, but, so it was very used. I mean, we can of course keep track of the ridership as any other bus. And we know exactly how many riders and on what days, et cetera, but, the helpfulness of it with parking in downtown Seaside, and the way I marketed it was, we bring customers right to your door, and we drop them right off at your door. I mean, all of Seaside, wherever you wanted to stop, pretty much, we would stop, because like you're saying, it was hop on, hop off at the intersections, and very friendly. And it worked really well for them too, but it cost us, we didn't profit as much as we did from Cannon Beach.
Well, you could try to get a grant, reducing vehicle miles traveled and such. There are ways.
Or Seaside get a grant.
Or Seaside.
Seaside get a grant. And I know that Tita has talked about us renting it out to Seaside and renting it out for functions, so that's. But we can't do that.
One more on our list.
All right, Special Districts Association of Oregon.
Okay.
Advocate for transportation to be a standalone category, special district awareness, public and legislature.
Well, you certainly need awareness. It's a small group of people who know the bus system exists. You're allowed, but you need an article in the newspapers, how it's financed, how it works, where it goes.
Well, I know in the presentations I made to the city councils, that was included in the presentation that we were part of the special districts, which is similar to irrigation districts or fire districts. That was part of that presentation.
What's the definition of a special district?
It's like a standalone form of government.
Okay.
There's over 1,000 special districts in Oregon alone.
Fire and rescue.
Cemetery district.
And they're in the Oregon State Constitution too, the Department of Special Districts is not just an association that bunch of people got together.
Well,
The state.
I see this also talking about, how we utilize SDAO to our benefit, so, and to be a united force as we lobby the legislature. And, because there's that's a pretty big relationship, is so that we can get the funding we need. And so to me, this is kind of a mixed bag of this little sector here, but I think this is should be embedded in something that we always do. It's just a part of what we're doing and I think that really falls into, your basket, Craig, as our executive director, who's, needs to be aware. And as we do as a board as well, but, I think it's embedded in your job as looking at, legislative, trends and what's going on in the sessions as it pertains to our work.
I may be wrong, but I think the sense I got of this element was that people from the district that went through the SDO conferences were disappointed because there were libraries and cemeteries and everybody else there. And the expectation was they would go to SDO and go to breakout sessions that were related to transportation.
Yeah.
But they weren't, because they were related to special districts. So, I don't know how relevant this is, and so it's nice to have good representation at these organizations. But there again, that's a special district organizational thing. They're not gonna have SDO conference for transportation.
Right.
But I think that's where that comes from.
I think there was one workshop that I attended with SDAO real early on when I first got on the board. And it had to do with transportation only. We kind of worked out how to work with another district to get rides and how you would do different things like that. But that was the only one that I've been to that was just a transportation workshop. Charles?
I've been to all of them since I've been on the board. Short, the last one I did not have, but to me, the ones that go is, they put us in with fire, with a lot of other districts, and it gets monopolized by the fire districts. They're all talking about, no one talked about, no, I think the transit districts.
We're in
You asked
the
me?
other category.
Yeah, okay, we'll have this district, you guys, and everybody else going in here. And I thought that we're unique, transit is unique to a lot of things that special districts do. It was good having a cemetery transit district in there, but the clients aren't complaining. Literally, they're not complaining, and the fire districts dominate the conversation. And I sure it's really interesting, but I never met a fire district that they don't want to talk about all the toys they have and what they do. And it's sort of didn't talk about the transit districts at all.
Well, that's a mistake, that the SDA, there's something to go into the suggestion box for SDAO. Because a lot of this stuff is really transferable to all the districts. What they teach us is useful for all districts. It's just that, the people, a majority of people come from those, a couple of districts specifically, and they, their issues are highlighted, so maybe it's something that, a feedback loop, where we need to tell SDAO that there's, that they need to make it a little more generic or, more inclusive.
I brought up in actual meetings. I think at the time, Captain Teresa was handling that breakout session. And it just seems like, I don't know how many transit districts there are. I read my wife been making a point of traveling around the state, but just going everywhere. And everybody go, I see those little transit districts. I'm thinking, there's little transit districts all over the state. Some of them, or maybe only five, I assume sometimes the executive director is a bus driver and everything else. But I just think that they share the things that we share. Some of the transit districts were bigger. I thought the Coos Bay one was a bigger district.
And that's something we need to take up with SDAO.
I thought we were gonna use this.
Evaluate what are we missing from that and then go from there. If there's something that we need from them that's different than what we're getting, then,
I guess they can.
we can keep it on the map, but
I guess they
it's,
can. But I guess my question is, they got all the breakout sessions they can have already. That's what I'm guessing. The three that they have are four.
is that something, Craig, that you feel is in your basket?
I really don't think there's enough special district transit that they could, specifically make classes tailored towards transit. I don't think we'll ever see that. I think you'll see the generalized classes. They kind of overlap to all the special districts.
And I think maybe that's not part of our strategic plan. That may be a whole separate effort.
And I mean, they only have so many people to run these, and the big ones are broke out by themselves. But if you were to break out transit from libraries, from cemeteries, then you're gonna have 3 or 4 people in some of these, and it's just.
Plus we got OTA, CTA.
There's other trainers.
A whole bunch of transit specific meetings.
So we've gotten all the way through this list. We added planning for another pandemic. Is there anything else to add? Emma?
So, not sure what you call it, but in terms of the environment, emissions reduction, all that sort of thing too, that's a long range plan, expensive plan, but there's simple things like, another week's. And they could be some small things. they're all over the place. But, on a larger scale and a small scale, so you've done your 2 months plan and your 20-year plan. And sidewalks are in there too. I'm just throwing that out, I have to do.
We just redid our sidewalks, $25,000 worth.
But no, not here. So I throw that in everywhere.
Oh,
Municipal thing.
Okay, I don't feel the love here.
Bye, Tracy.
Let me think
Tracy's
about it.
leaving.
Yep.
See you tonight.
see you
Yep.
tonight, Tracy.
Well, I
Yeah,
look
no.
forward to seeing, I think we did good work here today. And, I think we're gonna end up with a good workable plan.
Oh, I do too.
Oh, yeah.
Is there anything else?
No.
Are we good?
Should we schedule, not now, but should we schedule a strategy
Mary's-
meeting and follow-up meeting and?
Mary's saying
Mary,
yes.
I think we should, because
Okay.
it's easier to do one of these and stick it in somewhere, and then 2 years later, say, oh, yeah, we did.
Well, what has been our regular cycle is in April for strategic planning.
Say we've ever had a regular anything.
Let's establish one, how about April? Since we just did it.
This same document in 19 and then 20 and 21, pretty much. We've never had it go any farther than this into a work plan, and that's what we need is a work plan. And I,
We should visit a year.
at least every 3 months, maybe quarterly.
Well, but here's the idea is that, annually we do a strategic plan session like we did today.
Yeah.
But we are,
Briefed.
as a part of what we do every month, there is included in every agenda is that, is there anything that we need to amend on the strategic plan?
What
And then
about,
we have an ability every month to accommodate that.
Or every quarter.
or every quarter,
Quarter.
every quarter
An update.
in the agenda is an update
All right,
of
And you
how,
say,
okay.
per our strategic plan, we've achieved this.
Yeah.
So there'll be some things we've
All right,
achieved and take off the list.
so once a year, we sit down in a work session.
But get
And then
updates.
every quarter, we get, it's just automatically on the agenda,
And I like April because we just did it. And, it just seems like in a way, there's some kind of new weirdness about spring,
And it's
Kind
before,
of clean up, clean house, kind of.
and it's before budget, so that will help with the
Okay,
budget, okay?
So maybe on the agenda in July, we have the work plan. Maybe that would give us
Yes.
enough time to get the work plan for the board to look at.
Say that again.
On the agenda in July, be our goal to have the work plan in place with
Okay.
the priorities and kind of a plan. It may not be to the nth degree, but at least get it a strategic plan
I think that's.
format.
That sounds realistic.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I look back in records that I could go as far back and there was no strategic plan that I can find in my records.
We need a document.
Yeah, we need a document. It's a
I think
working-
that's, I
working
think
plan.
that's a good idea. Okay. Anything else then?
Are you taking this half hour off our regular board meeting
No.
tonight?
I'm gonna add it. No,
See,
because.
you were sorry if people get to see what we deal with.
We're gonna add it because it took us so long, so.
Mary insisted it was 6 o'clock because we have to be out of there by 8.
Right.
All right,
You folks, see
Where's your-
what